The Galactic Council's archive held records of over 10,000 civilizations, each neatly categorized by their evolutionary path and technological progression. But on this particular cycle, High Archivist Kesda found herself staring at a dataset that defied every classification system the Council had established over millennia. "Most peculiar," she muttered, her iridescent scales shifting colors as she processed the information. The holographic display before her showed Earth, a seemingly unremarkable planet orbiting an average yellow star. Yet the readings from the observation probes told a story that made no sense. The species called humans had achieved nuclear fission while still burning fossil fuels. They had reached their moon using chemical rockets while portions of their population lacked basic necessities. They had developed quantum computing theories before fully understanding their own brain chemistry. It was as if they were climbing a technological ladder by skipping every other rung, somehow maintaining their balance through sheer determination. "High Archivist," a voice interrupted her thoughts. "The Council requests your presence for the emergency session." Kesta acknowledged the summons with a flicker of her bioluminescent patterns. She had known this meeting was coming. After all, she had been the one to flag the anomaly that had sent ripples of concern through the highest levels of galactic governance. The council chamber was a vast amphitheater, its transparent dome offering a view of the galactic core. Representatives of the most advanced civilizations in known space sat in tiered rows, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Some existed as pure energy, others as crystalline structures, and still others in forms that defied description in any single language. High Archivist, Supreme Counselor, Anxferus' thoughts resonated through the chamber. Share your findings regarding species 10,247. Kesta moved to the center of the chamber, her scales now a professional shade of deep blue. Honorable Council, our standard observation protocols have revealed an unprecedented situation. The species designated as humans has been inadvertently integrating advanced technology into their development for the past 70 years. A murmur of confusion rippled through the assembly. "Clarify," Anxfera commanded. "Our preliminary investigation suggests that various pieces of damaged or discarded technology from passing ships have been reaching Earth's surface. Instead of displaying the expected reverence or fear toward these artifacts, humans have been," she paused, searching for the right word, "reverse engineering them, without even understanding their true origin." The chamber erupted in a cascade of colors, sounds, and electromagnetic pulses, the Council's equivalent of shocked gasps. "What you suggest is impossible," declared Representative Eeks of the Silicon Consciousness. "No Level 2 civilization has the capability to comprehend, let alone repurpose, technology beyond their evolutionary stage." Kesta's scales rippled with conviction. "Nevertheless, we have documented evidence. A quantum field generator's power core crashed in what they call New Mexico, led to significant advances in their particle physics theories. A damaged navigation array in their Pacific Ocean inspired new approaches to their digital technology. They didn't fully understand what they were examining, but they observed, theorized, and adapted. This is unprecedented." Anxfera's thoughts carried a tone of concern. "Our entire system of technological advancement oversight is based on predictable patterns of species development. If humans are capable of adapting technology they don't fully understand." "There's more," Kesta interrupted, her scales shifting to urgent crimson. "Our latest probes indicate they're beginning to recognize patterns in what they believe to be natural phenomena. They're starting to notice our observation platforms." The council chamber fell into absolute silence. In 10,000 cycles of galactic history, no species had ever detected council observation platforms before achieving Level 3 status. It simply wasn't possible according to every known model of civilization development. How are they detecting them? The question came from a consciousness of pure energy, its form flickering with curiosity. "They're not, at least not directly," Kesta explained. "They're noticing secondary effects, subtle gravitational fluctuations, minute electromagnetic disturbances, quantum entanglement patterns. But here's what's truly remarkable. They're sharing this information through their global information network, hidden in what appears to be entertainment, scientific speculation, and even what they call conspiracy theories. They're collectively solving a puzzle they don't even know exists. And their reaction to these discoveries? Vera probed. That's perhaps the most intriguing part. Kesta's scales shifted to a contemplative purple. They're not afraid. They're excited. Their scientists are treating these anomalies as challenges to be understood. Their military organizations are developing new detection methods. Their civilian population is inadvertently crowdsourcing data collection through modified consumer devices. They're adapting, collaborating, and innovating in ways our models never predicted possible. The council chamber buzzed with intense discussion. This was more than an anomaly. It was a potential paradigm shift in how the galaxy understood species development. High Archivist, Vera's thoughts cut through the chaos. Your recommendation? Kesta's scales settled into a determined goal. We need to reconsider our entire approach to species classification and development monitoring. Humans aren't just breaking our models. They're showing us that our models might have been incomplete all along. They're achieving things that should be impossible, not through superior technology or biology, but through sheer adaptability and determination. She gestured, bringing up a holographic display of Earth's internet traffic, a chaotic web of information flow that somehow functioned despite its apparent disorder. Look at how they handle information. It's inefficient, redundant, often incorrect. And yet, somehow more resilient than any system we've developed. They don't need perfection to make progress. They embrace chaos as a catalyst for innovation. You're suggesting we change protocols that have served us for millennia because of one aberrant species? Representative X challenged. I'm suggesting, Kesta replied, her scales now pulsing with conviction, that we've discovered something we never knew we were looking for. A species that doesn't follow the rules of development because they don't know these rules exist. And perhaps that's their greatest strength. As the council debated, new reports kept streaming in from Earth. Humans had just tested their first quantum entanglement communication device, cobbled together from what they thought were natural phenomena. They were wrong about how it worked. Their theories were incomplete, and their implementation was crude. But somehow, impossibly, it functioned. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity didn't even know they were the catalyst. Dr. Elena Martinez stood before the wall of monitors in her basement laboratory at MIT, watching patterns emerge from what looked like random noise. 6 months ago, she would have dismissed these signals as background radiation or instrument error. Now she knew better. They're changing their observation patterns, she muttered, marking another anomaly on her holographic display. The billions in classified funding that had poured into her quantum detection research was finally paying off, though not in any way her official sponsors had anticipated. Her private terminal chimed, a message from Dr. Chen in Beijing. The Chinese quantum physicist had been her unofficial partner in this investigation ever since they'd both noticed the same impossible patterns in their separate experiments. Their collaboration existed in encrypted channels hidden beneath academic papers and seemingly innocent social media posts. Elena, they're learning to hide. Chen's message read, but they don't understand how we think. They're being too perfect in their randomization. She smiled. That was exactly what made their visitors so fascinating. Their technology was incredibly advanced, but their thinking was almost rigidly linear. They kept trying to hide their presence by creating perfect patterns of randomness, not realizing that nature itself was never quite so precise. A soft knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in, James." Her graduate student entered, carrying a tablet displaying more analysis results. "Dr. Martinez, we've collected data from over 3,000 civilian devices now. The pattern recognition AI is showing something interesting." James pulled up a global map overlaid with countless tiny dots, each representing a detection of what they now called quantum shadows. the almost imperceptible traces left by their invisible watchers. They're not just observing us, Elena realized, seeing the pattern emerge. They're conducting experiments. Look at how they cluster around our major technological centers, but also around areas of conflict and cooperation. They're studying our behavior as much as our technology. But why? James asked, his eyes fixed on the display. If they're so advanced, why spend so much time watching us? Elena's fingers danced across her holographic interface, bringing up another layer of data. Because we're doing things they don't understand. Look at this. Every time we make a technological leap that doesn't fit their expected patterns, their observation intensity increases. She highlighted a series of events. The development of neural interface technology in Brazil using repurposed medical equipment, the creation of primitive but functional quantum computers in a garage in Nigeria, the sudden advances in fusion research by a team of teenage prodigies in Indonesia. We're not following their rulebook, she continued. Every spacefaring civilization they've encountered apparently followed the same general path of development. But humanity, we're chaos theory in action. Across the globe, similar revelations were occurring in hidden labs and makeshift research facilities. A high school teacher in Auckland had modified a smartphone to detect quantum fluctuations. A retired engineer in Mumbai had created an AI algorithm that could predict where the observers would appear next. A group of amateur astronomers in Chile had discovered a way to briefly glimpse the outline of cloaked observation platforms against the stars. Each discovery was shared through a complex web of seemingly unrelated communications, scientific papers that contained hidden data in their statistical noise, social media posts with encoded coordinates, even online game servers repurposed as data exchange networks. In orbit, aboard the Council's primary observation vessel, senior observer Xerix was growing increasingly troubled. His crystalline form pulsed with patterns of confusion as he reviewed the latest analysis. "They're seeing us," he reported to the Council's emergency session. "Not directly, but they're aware of our presence. And they're—" He paused, searching for the right word. "Playing with us." "Clarify," came the Council's collective response. "They're leaving messages in ways they know we'll detect. Mathematical sequences that couldn't be natural, patterns that demonstrate understanding of quantum mechanics beyond their supposed capability. But they're doing it in ways that maintain plausible deniability. If we weren't looking for it, we'd miss it entirely." The Council's energy patterns swirled in agitation. This was unprecedented. No species had ever detected their observation platforms before official contact was initiated. More importantly, no species had ever demonstrated this kind of collective problem-solving ability without centralized coordination. "How are they organizing this response?" one Council member demanded. "That's just it," Xerix replied, his crystalline form flickering with amazement. "They're not. At least not in any way we can detect. Thousands of humans are working on this puzzle simultaneously, sharing information through channels so chaotic we initially dismissed them as noise. They're using everything from academic papers to social media posts to online games. The information is everywhere and nowhere." On Earth, Elena Martinez was reaching a similar conclusion about their observers. She stood in her lab, surrounded by the soft hum of quantum detection equipment, and realized something fundamental about the beings watching them. "They don't understand redundancy," she explained to her team. "Look at their communication patterns. Everything is perfectly efficient, perfectly organized. They don't waste energy, don't duplicate efforts, don't make mistakes. They're so advanced they've forgotten how to be messy." She pulled up a visualization of Earth's internet traffic, a chaotic, redundant, inefficient network that somehow carried humanity's collective knowledge across the globe. "This is our strength. We try things that shouldn't work. We duplicate efforts without even realizing it. We make mistakes and learn from them. We're millions of people solving the same puzzle in different ways, and somehow it all comes together." In the depths of space, the Council was coming to a disturbing realization. Their perfect observation protocols, refined over millennia of studying developing civilizations, had encountered something they never expected, a species that turned chaos itself into a tool for advancement. The question was no longer whether to make official contact, but whether they were ready for what would happen when they did. The Council's first contact protocols had remained unchanged for 12,000 cycles. They were elegant, thorough, and had worked flawlessly with over 10,000 civilizations. Until now. They're doing what? Supreme Counselor Anxfera's energy form flickered with disbelief. High Archivist Kesta's scales shifted to a nervous amber as she repeated the report. They're broadcasting a welcome message in over 300 languages, including 17 we never taught them. The council chamber erupted in chaos. First contact was supposed to be initiated by the council, carefully choreographed to demonstrate their technological superiority while offering guidance and protection to the emerging civilization. Humanity had just thrown that millennia-old playbook out the window. The message playing across every quantum frequency was deceptively simple. We see you. We're ready to talk. And we've made coffee. On Earth, Dr. Elena Martinez stood in the newly constructed First Contact Center in Geneva, watching as representatives from every nation gathered. The facility itself was a testament to human ingenuity. Built in secret over 6 months, incorporating technology reverse-engineered from decades of studying alien artifacts that had fallen to Earth. Are we really ready for this? James asked, now her chief assistant rather than just a graduate student. Elena smiled, remembering how far they'd come since those first discoveries in her basement lab. Ready or not, it's happening. And we're doing it our way. The center's quantum detection array lit up with activity. The aliens were finally responding to their invitation, though not in any way they'd expected. Instead of the predicted single massive ship, hundreds of small vessels were appearing in orbit, each seemingly designed to observe from a different perspective. They still don't quite get us, Elena mused. They're trying to be thorough, to gather every possible data point. They don't understand that sometimes the best way to learn about someone is to simply sit down and talk. The first alien delegation arrived precisely 24 hours after Earth's invitation. They materialized in the center's main chamber, a group of crystalline beings led by what appeared to be a shifting mass of iridescent scales that Elena recognized must be the High Archivist from intercepted communications. Welcome to Earth. Elena stepped forward, speaking in standard English while translation systems handled the rest. I'm Dr. Elena Martinez. Would you like some coffee? The High Archivist's scales rippled with what might have been confusion. You are not afraid, she stated, not a question but an observation. Oh, we're terrified. Elena laughed, surprising their visitors even more. But curiosity beats fear every time. Besides, we've been studying you almost as long as you've been studying us. She gestured to the walls of the chamber, where holographic displays showed the locations of every cloaked observation platform still in orbit. Would you like to explain why you hid your damaged technology for us to find, or should we skip the preliminaries and discuss why you're really here? The council representatives exchanged what could only be described as shocked glances. We did not deliberately. The High Archivist began. Of course you didn't, Elena interrupted. But you didn't clean up after yourselves either. Careless littering, really. Though we appreciate the learning opportunities, the quantum field generator we found in New Mexico was particularly helpful once we figured out it wasn't actually a weather balloon. The alien delegation's confusion was palpable. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to go. The developing civilization should be awed, perhaps frightened, certainly deferential to their superior technology and knowledge. Instead, humans were treating them like long-expected guests who were slightly late to dinner. You do not understand your place in the galaxy, one of the crystalline beings stated firmly. No, we don't, Elena agreed cheerfully. That's what makes it exciting. We've read your protocols, by the way, intercepted them from your quantum communications. Very organized, very logical, very rigid. She brought up a holographic display, showing the standard progression of technological development according to Council records. The problem is, we don't fit your models. We never have, and we never will. And that terrifies you more than any weapon we could develop. The High Archivist's scales shifted to a deep blue of profound realization. You understand more than you should. We understand that the galaxy runs on rules we never knew existed, Elena explained, which means we never learned what was impossible. Do you know how many of our greatest discoveries came from people trying things that simply shouldn't work? We split the atom before we fully understood it. We reached our moon using computers less powerful than today's children's toys. We mapped our own genome while still fighting diseases with what you would consider primitive tools. She paused, pouring a cup of coffee and offering it to the High Archivist, who tentatively accepted it with an appendage that materialized specifically for that purpose. But most importantly, Elena continued, we learned to embrace chaos. Every alien civilization you've encountered followed a logical progression of development. They reached for the stars only after achieving planetary unity. They developed quantum technology only after mastering all classical physics. They followed the rules. And you do not, the High Archivist stated, her scales now showing patterns never before recorded in Council history. We break rules we don't even know exist, Elena confirmed. We try impossible things because nobody told us they were impossible. We fail spectacularly and learn from those failures. We duplicate efforts, waste resources, and stumble upon brilliant discoveries by accident. We're inefficient, illogical, and somehow it works. The coffee cup in the High Archivist's grip trembled slightly. The Council believes you need guidance, structure, protection. Elena's smile widened. No, what you really need is what we're offering. A reminder that there's more than one way to reach the stars. Your civilization has achieved incredible things, but when was the last time you tried something new? Something that might not work. Something that might even be a little bit crazy. The silence that followed was profound. For the first time in recorded history, a Council delegation found themselves completely without protocol to follow. And somewhere in that silence, the future of the galaxy shifted on its axis. 6 months after first contact, the Galactic Council faced an unprecedented crisis. The problem wasn't that humans were struggling to adapt to advanced technology. It was that they were adapting it in ways that made no sense at all. They did what to the quantum harmonizer? Supreme Counselor, Anxvera's energy form pulsed with such intensity that several nearby recording crystals cracked. High Archivist Kesda's scales had settled into a permanent state of bewildered amber. They turned it into a cooking device. Apparently, it makes something called perfect toast by quantum locking the bread at its optimal state of preparation. That's not what quantum harmonizers are for, protested Representative Eakes of the Silicon Consciousness. They know that, Kesda explained. They simply decided to try it anyway. And it worked. Somehow. Their explanation involves something they call why not, which our translation matrices are still struggling to properly contextualize. The Council chamber's displays showed hundreds of similar examples. Humans had taken carefully regulated technology and reimagined it in ways that defied not just convention, but sometimes the very laws of physics as the Council understood them. In a research facility in Mumbai, Dr. Arun Patel had combined alien medical scanners with Earth's primitive virtual reality systems to create an immersive medical training program that was revolutionizing healthcare education across the planet. The Council's medical technology was far superior, but they had never considered using it for simulation and training. In Lagos, a group of engineers had modified alien waste recycling units to clean up ocean pollution, programming them with gaming algorithms that made environmental restoration competitive and entertaining. The units weren't designed for that purpose, but they were working better than their original function. And in Antarctica, Dr. Elena Martinez was causing even more confusion among the alien observers. The first contact center had evolved into the primary human-alien research facility, where she led a team of scientists in what she called collaborative innovation. "You can't combine those technologies," insisted Xerix, the crystalline being who had once observed humanity from orbit and now found himself constantly surprised by their approaches. "The energy matrices are incompatible. Only if you follow the rules," Alina replied, making another adjustment to the hybrid device her team was building. "But what if we don't try to make them compatible? What if we let them be incompatible in a useful way?" The device in question was a violation of every technical principle the Council held sacred. It combined Council quantum technology with human digital systems, alien energy matrices with Earth's crude electrical grid, and threw in some programming that made most alien AI systems crash when trying to analyze it. "It's like jazz," Alina explained, seeing Xerix's confusion. "Sometimes the notes that shouldn't work together create something beautiful." Jazz. The crystalline being's form flickered with uncertainty. Human music where the musicians intentionally play with discord and harmony, structure and chaos. She activated the device, and suddenly the research facility was filled with swirling patterns of quantum energy that somehow interfaced perfectly with Earth's internet. "But the protocols," Xerix began. "Are guidelines, not laws," Alina finished. "Look, we understand why the Council developed such strict technological protocols. When you're dealing with forces that could accidentally create a black hole, having safety measures makes sense. But protocols should adapt with new discoveries, not restrict them." Across Earth, similar scenes were playing out. Humans weren't just learning alien technology. They were reinventing it, combining it with their own crude but creative solutions, and producing results that were simultaneously less advanced and more innovative than anything the Council had seen in millennia. In orbit, the Council observation platforms had been transformed into a network of teaching satellites, where alien instructors found themselves learning as much as they taught. Every human solution to a problem seemed to involve breaking at least 3 laws of physics, yet somehow still functioned. "They're spreading," reported a Council member in emergency session. "Their ideas, their methods, their chaos." It was true. Younger members of various alien species had begun adopting human approaches to problem-solving. A group of junior silicon consciousness researchers had created an experimental division that operated on human principles of trial and error. Several energy beings had started exploring what they called quantum jazz, a new form of energy manipulation inspired by human music theory. "This isn't just about technology anymore," High Archivist Kesta realized, her scales shifting to a pattern that represented a fundamental shift in understanding. "They're changing how we think." The Council's perfect, orderly galaxy was being infected with human chaos theory, and the results were both terrifying and exhilarating. Civilizations that had been stagnant for millennia were suddenly experiencing bursts of innovation. Problems that had been deemed unsolvable were being approached from new, often absurd angles, and solutions were emerging. "Perhaps," suggested one of the younger Council members, their energy form dancing with excitement, "this is why we found them. Not to guide them, but to be guided by them." The notion would have been considered heretical mere months ago. Now, watching humans casually violate the laws of physics while humming something called bebop, it seemed like the only logical conclusion. In her Antarctic lab, Alina looked up at the quantum classical hybrid network her team had created, a perfect metaphor for humanity's role in the galaxy. It was messy, inefficient, probably violated several universal constants, and worked better than anyone could explain. "You know what the best part is?" she asked Xerix, who had become something of a regular in their experiments. "We're just getting started." The crystalline being's form shimmered with what might have been excitement, or possibly terror. With humans, it was getting harder to tell the difference. 5 years after first contact, the Galactic Council convened its millennial assessment session. For the first time in its history, the agenda had only one item: humanity. High Archivist Kesta stood in the center of the Council chamber, her scales now permanently shifted to a previously unknown color that many had started calling human shift. a swirling pattern that somehow represented both chaos and progress. Honorable Council, she began, we gather today not to assess humanity's progress, but to acknowledge our own evolution. In just 5 years, human influence has triggered more advancement in galactic civilization than the previous 1,000 years combined. The chamber's displays showed scenes from across the galaxy. On a silicon consciousness world, young researchers had established what they called a human thinking lab, where they deliberately introduced random variables into their perfect logical systems. The results had revolutionized their entire approach to artificial intelligence. In the energy being's realm, a new form of art had emerged, quantum jazz poetry, where energy patterns were woven into deliberately imperfect harmonies that created entirely new forms of consciousness. Even the crystalline species had begun experimenting with what they termed controlled imperfection, introducing planned flaws into their structures that somehow made them stronger. But the most significant change, Kesta continued, isn't in our technology or methods. It's in our understanding of evolution itself. Dr. Elena Martinez appeared as a hologram beside her, now serving as humanity's first representative to the Council. We've learned from each other, Elena added. Your civilization taught us the importance of careful protocols when dealing with forces that could destroy solar systems. We taught you that sometimes you need to break protocol to discover something new. The chamber's displays shifted to show Earth, but not as it had appeared 5 years ago. The planet was now a fascinating blend of human chaos and alien order. Cities featured impossible architecture that combined quantum engineering with human artistic expression. Transportation systems violated several laws of physics while remaining surprisingly efficient. Education centers taught both rigorous council scientific principles and human creative problem-solving. What we're witnessing, Elena explained, is not just technological advancement. It's evolutionary advancement. The galaxy was caught in a loop of perfect, predictable progress. Humanity wasn't just an anomaly in that system. We were the chaos factor that the system needed to evolve. Kesta's scales rippled in agreement. Every civilization we encountered before humans followed the same path because we guided them to follow it. We thought we were preserving order. Instead, we were preventing growth. The evidence was undeniable. In the 5 years since human methods had begun spreading through the galaxy, more new patents had been filed with the Council than in the previous century. Most of them violated at least one previously accepted law of physics. All of them worked. But perhaps most importantly, Elena continued, we've learned that true progress isn't about being perfect. It's about being adaptable. She gestured, and the display showed a recent experiment that had shocked the galaxy. A team of human and alien scientists had successfully created a stable wormhole using a method that Council physicists had declared impossible for millennia. They had achieved it by intentionally introducing controlled chaos into the quantum field, a concept that would have been considered madness just years ago. Humans never had the advantage of knowing what was impossible, Helena explained. So we tried everything. Most of it failed. Some of it worked for reasons we still don't fully understand. But we kept trying, kept failing, kept learning. And now we're teaching the galaxy to do the same. Supreme Counselor Anxfera's energy form pulsed with what had become recognized as amusement. You have infected us with your chaos. We prefer to call it creativity. Elena smiled. And you've infected us with your wisdom. Look at Earth now. We've learned to balance our chaos with your order. We still try impossible things, but now we do it with proper safety protocols. Usually, the council chamber filled with various forms of alien laughter. Another change humanity had brought to the formerly austere body. And so, Kesta concluded, we face a question we never expected to ask. What is humanity's place in the galaxy? Elena's hologram smiled. Maybe we're not meant to have a place. Maybe our role is to keep things moving, to prevent stagnation, to remind the galaxy that perfection is overrated and mistakes can lead to miracles. The species no one saw coming, Kesta mused, her scales shifting through patterns of revelation. Because we were looking for perfection, and you showed us the power of imperfection. The Council's final ruling was unprecedented, but then everything about humanity had been unprecedented. Earth was designated as neither a protectorate nor a member world, but as something entirely new, an innovation hub, where species from across the galaxy could come to learn the art of controlled chaos. In her Antarctic lab, now expanded into a sprawling research complex where scientists from 1,000 worlds came to experiment, Alina watched a group of energy beings attempting to play jazz with quantum fields, while a team of crystalline researchers deliberately introduced flaws into their structures to study the results. "You know what the really funny part is," she said to Zurix, who had become one of her closest alien friends. "We're still making it up as we go along." The crystalline being's form flickered with what had become his version of a laugh. Perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needed. A species that never stopped asking, what if and why not? Above them, in the quantum classical hybrid network they'd built, human music played through alien technology, creating harmonies that shouldn't have been possible. But then, impossibility had always been humanity's favorite challenge. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point.